A black man was humiliatingly stopped at the entrance to his own club by someone unaware that he was the owner. This incident marked the beginning of a chain of events that would change lives and expose the harsh reality of bias. But let's start from the very beginning. Friday evening. The neon lights of the Velvet Lounge draw in crowds, the music pounds, and the atmosphere is a mix of excitement and tension. The line at the entrance moves quickly as bouncers usher in guests, selectively nodding their approval. Standing out at the door is Rick, a tall white man who seems to relish his position of authority. Elijah approaches the club, a black man in a perfectly tailored suit, holding a phone in his hand. His confident stride draws attention, but Rick steps forward immediately, blocking his path. Rick, "Where do you think you're going?" he asks sharply, eyeing Elijah as though assessing his worthiness. Elijah, "Inside. I'm here with friends," he replies calmly. Rick crosses his arms over his chest, a smug smile spreading across his face. Rick, "This place is for a certain kind of crowd. You don't belong here." The crowd begins murmuring. Someone pulls out their phone and starts recording. Elijah exhales deeply, keeping his composure. Elijah, "Are you sure I can't go in?" he asks with a faint smile. Rick smirks. Rick, 100%. You'd better look for another spot. People like you aren't welcome here. Elijah pauses, pulls out his phone and makes a call. A few minutes later, Sarah, the club manager, emerges from the entrance. Her face tenses as she sees Rick and begins to understand the situation. Sarah, "What's going on here?" she asks, trying to keep her voice steady. Rick, still unaware of who Elijah is, responds with a smirk. Rick, "This guy's trying to get in. I told him he doesn't belong here." Sarah looks from Rick to Elijah, her voice trembling as she speaks. Sarah, "Rick, this is Elijah Brown, the new owner of the club." Rick freezes in place. His smug expression melts into shock. The crowd around them bursts into surprised murmurs. Elijah slowly turns to face the onlookers. Elijah, "It seems I can go inside after all," he says calmly, walking past Rick and into the club. Inside the Velvet Lounge, luxury reigns. Soft leather sofas, atmospheric lighting that creates an air of mystery, and the VIP area buzzing with guests. Elijah walks through the venue, feeling the stares of patrons and staff alike. Sarah follows closely, visibly nervous. Sarah, hurrying to catch up, whispering, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Brown. I didn't expect this to happen." Elijah stops, turning to face her. His tone is calm but firm. Elijah, "Who else on your team believes they have the right to decide who's worthy of being here?" Sarah nods, lowering her gaze. "I'll address it immediately," she promises. Meanwhile, Rick stands at the entrance, his face burning with humiliation. He tries to think of an excuse, but realizes his words hold no weight anymore. As the night progresses, the crowd continues to grow, yet the buzz about the incident refuses to die down. Social media is already ablaze with the first videos, Elijah being denied entry to his own club, and Rick's stunned reaction upon learning the truth. User 1. This is racism in 2024? Really? User 2. The club owner was humiliated at the door. Unbelievable. Elijah returns to the main hall, noticing a few guests from the queue looking at him with approval. One of them, an older man, approaches. Guest, "You did the right thing. People like Rick need to be put in their place." Elijah nods politely, but inside, he feels a growing anger. He doesn't want the club to become a symbol of scandal, but he's determined not to tolerate such behavior. The next day, confrontation in the office. The management team gathers in Elijah's office. Sarah begins her report, while Rick sits in the corner, visibly uncomfortable. Elijah, "Rick, how do you explain what happened last night?" Rick stammers. Rick, I didn't know. I was just trying to do my job." Elijah's voice sharpens. Elijah, "Your job is not to discriminate against people based on the color of their skin. I'm here to build a place where everyone feels welcome. If you can't align with that vision, you're no longer part of this team." Elijah's words land like a hammer. Sarah nods in agreement, while the rest of the staff exchange glances. The atmosphere at the club begins to shift. The message is clear. Mistakes like Rick's will no longer be tolerated. Elijah's determination signals a new era for the Velvet Lounge, one where respect and inclusivity take center stage. The Velvet Lounge continues to attract guests, but the video of the confrontation at the entrance has gone viral on social media. It sparks widespread discussion. Many express support for Elijah, while others raise concerns about hidden racist practices within the industry. Elijah decides it's time to act. He organizes a meeting with the club staff to discuss values and standards. Gathering everyone in the main hall, he begins without preamble. Elijah. What happened yesterday was a lesson for all of us. But it's not just about avoiding scandals. We need to reassess how we treat people, every single one of our guests. The room is silent, but tension builds among the staff. Some glance furtively at Rick, who sits in the corner with a stony expression. Elijah. I want everyone to understand this. This club is for everyone, regardless of their skin color, background, or status. He continues. If anyone doesn't share that vision, the door is open. You're free to leave right now. Feeling the pressure, Rick stands up. His voice is sharp, though it trembles slightly. Rick. It was a misunderstanding. I was just doing my job. Why am I being made out to be the villain now? Elijah responds calmly but firmly. Elijah. You can blame circumstances, but that doesn't change the fact that you acted based on prejudice. That kind of behavior is destructive, not just for us as a business, but for society as a whole. After a pause, he adds, Elijah. If you want to stay, you'll need to prove that you can change. The meeting ends in tense silence, but by the evening the club is running as usual. However, the aftermath of the discussion is evident. Sarah notices some staff, particularly those close to Rick, huddled in a corner, whispering and trying to avoid the view of the security cameras. Meanwhile, Elijah receives a call from one of the guests who witnessed the incident. The caller turns out to be an influential journalist, preparing to write an article about the club and Elijah's efforts to fight discrimination. Journalist, you have the opportunity to set an example for many if you keep moving in this direction, they say. But remember, every little detail will be scrutinized. The video continues to gain traction online. One post, splicing footage of Rick's apology with commentary from guests, goes viral. The city begins to view the Velvet Lounge as a beacon of change. But for Elijah, this is only the beginning. He knows he must convince everyone that come. The following week, the Velvet Lounge becomes the center of attention. The story of how its owner faced discrimination in his own establishment is discussed in the media and across social networks. Elijah decides to seize the moment. He announces a series of initiatives to promote awareness of equality and inclusion, including mandatory staff training. Elijah, at a press conference broadcast on local television. We are creating a space where everyone feels welcome. This is our new reality. The training sessions begin the next week. All employees, including Rick, participate in workshops led by professional coaches. During one exercise, Rick is asked to reflect on moments in his life that shaped his biased beliefs. This introspection shocks him, as he realizes that his behavior stems not from personal malice, but from years of systemic influence. After the session, he approaches Elijah. Rick, I want to apologize, not just for what I did, but for the person I've been until now. Elijah, studying him carefully. Apologies are a step, but I'm waiting for action. Show me you can change. Meanwhile, the club launches a new social media campaign. Velvet Lounge, a place for everyone. Guests share their stories about how the club has become a safe and inclusive space for them. Elijah notices growing support, not only from loyal patrons but also from a new and diverse audience. Challenges amid progress. Not everything goes smoothly. Sarah notices that some staff members are still resistant to the changes. One of them, a longtime friend of Rick's, attempts to sabotage the club's operations by stirring up conflicts among guests. When Elijah learns about this, he calls the staff member in for a meeting. Elijah. I won't tolerate anyone undermining the work we're doing together. You'll need to leave. This decisive action becomes a turning point. The staff realizes that Elijah is unwavering in his mission for transformation. The final scene. The Velvet Lounge hosts a charity gala, with all proceeds going to an equality advocacy fund. The club is filled with people of all ages, backgrounds, and professions. Elijah steps onto the stage to thank everyone. Elijah, tonight is proof that change is possible. Together, we are taking steps toward a better future. Applause fills the room. Among the crowd are Rick, now performing his duties with respect for all, and Sarah, whose dedication helped drive the transformation. The story concludes with scenes of people from various cultures and walks of life dancing together, symbolizing unity. Elijah watches with a smile, confident that he made the right choice.